Alright, this is the third part of the video going into using power chords and exercises. Let's see. We're going to go over a couple more small techniques if you're still starting out with that I left out on the first two videos. One is, I notice this a lot with beginners, is you want to really try to avoid looking at your right hand when you're playing. It's very tempting to do, especially when you're trying to play on the A and D strings or D and G and avoiding strings. You're going to want to look down there so you're making sure you're playing on the right strings. But you really want to be focused on your left hand more than anything. Generally when I see people looking at their right hand when they're playing, it distracts them, and then their left hand starts losing the chord and they don't make their change successfully. It also slows people down. So at first it's hard to not do it. Just try to avoid looking at your right hand. Try to just focus on your left hand. When you catch yourself doing it, just look away. You're going to make mistakes at first, but that's fine. That's going to just help you develop a sense of feel for your right hand, because your right hand is going to have the muscular memory to remember where those strings are. And you'll start using areas of your hand as well to kind of feel where the strings are. I can kind of use this area of my palm to feel where that E string is, so I know to avoid it to play on the A. And if I'm trying on the higher strings, I can even hook onto the high E string if I'm not using it, just to know where I'm at. It's a good way to keep a point of reference for your right hand. Alright, now we'll look at a few. First, before I go into this, I also want to mention, if you're starting out and you just have an acoustic guitar, that's fine. You can still do the same exact exercises. I would recommend trying it on both, on acoustic and electric, if you have both. It's going to sound a little bit different, of course. With electric guitar, power chords usually sound nice with a bit of distortion or gain. Also try them with a clean tone though, because you're going to hear a lot more detail in it that way. So you hear everything nice and clean that way. With the distortion, if you have a lot of gain on, it tends to kind of bury some of the details. So this way is going to make sure you're playing everything perfectly and really clean. Then try it out with different tones. You're going to, depending on what amp you have for set up, you'll find there's a lot of different sounds you can get out of it. In another video I'm going to go into palm muting, which will be incorporated with the power chords. But for now we'll look at just some more movements for getting used to the power chord. It's a little bit more advanced exercises. We want to don't forget to work with coming from open power chords to a fretted power chord. It feels a little bit different than just the fretted power chords, because normally you're going to change what finger's going for the fifth note. So what I'd suggest is like take an open fret. Try pretty much the same thing. I'm going to do like the rectangle shape, but instead I'll go the other direction. I'll start at open E, first or second fret of A, move up to 5 of E and 7 of A, down to 5 and 7 of A and D, and then open A, second fret, D. That's basically just kind of trying it in a different direction and moving it around. Like I said, just pick 2 random frets basically on the neck and make that rectangle shape. I can go from 9 to 12 on E and A. Alright, now once that stuff becomes pretty easy, you'll have it down. It won't really be an exercise you really even have to do that much, just every once in a while maybe to keep in shape. Then we're going to look at a little bit different movements with the power chord. One good one is making pretty much like a zigzag on the fretboard. I'm going to do this on the E, rooted on the E and A strings. So I'll start 3rd fret of E, and remember the ring finger is just going to be 1 string down, 2 frets ahead always. So I'm just going to go by root fret for now for the index finger. So 3rd fret on E, then down a string and over a fret, 4th fret on A. Then up and over to the 5th fret on E, down and over 6th fret on A, and just making a zigzag shape. kind of just thinking of different patterns to make and trying them out. The more complicated it is and the quicker you do it, the more challenging it's going to be. So keep it challenging. As soon as something starts getting easy for you, then try to add a little bit more into it. Try doing a three-string power chord change. So instead of just E to A, we'll go E, A, D. From there, you can start to just kind of throw some riffs together. You'll find a lot of songs use power chords. There's millions of songs that are just made of power chords. So when you start just throwing a few chords together in different patterns, it's very likely you might even throw some chords together that ring a bell, and all of a sudden you realize it's a song you just figured out. But just you can kind of randomly just move around on the fretboard. Think of whole steps and half steps. So move it 2 frets away or 1 fret away. And just try kind of getting used to moving around easily. So now I'm just going to take, off the top of my head, just start randomly going through power chords on a rhythm. It's really easy to start throwing things together that way. Also, it's just you're getting more exercise with the power chord. Earlier, I did also mention how we can add in that extra E string if we're playing on the A and D string. So we can always add in a 3rd string to the power chord, which it's pretty commonly done. This makes that 1 octave added in just kind of adds a little bit more to it. We can also do it if we're playing on the E and A string. Though we don't have unless you have a 7-string guitar, we don't have a B string to add in a lower octave. So instead we're going to add in a higher octave. If we're on 5 and 7 of E and A, my 5th fret's at A, 7th fret's an E. 7th fret on the D string is also going to be A included, so we're just adding a higher octave A this way. So I'll play it with the added octave and without. So it's not a big difference, just it makes the chord a little bit fuller. And that can be done on the A, D, and G strings as well. If you want to drop to D, G, and B, remember for that B string we always just have to add a fret. So that would require fret 5, going to 5 on D, 7 on G, and then 8 on B. It's going to be easiest if you use your little finger for that B string. And then finally, if you want to use strings G, B, and the high E, it would be just like you do that power chord where you add in the extra fret for G and B, and we'll flatten out our little finger to hold down the same fret on the high E string as we're holding down on the B string. So that's fret 5 on G, 8 on B, and 8 on high E. And that way we'll be able to play the 3-string power chord on any string you want, basically. That's about it for the power chords. I'll probably make another video soon, kind of going into some right-hand techniques, starting off with string muting, or palm muting. And a lot of the stuff can kind of be thrown together. The power chord exercises, that's probably the next step you'll want to do with them, is start throwing in palm muting. That we've done in my next video. Palm muting, just to give you an example, if you're not familiar with the term, it's when you're using this part of your palm to somewhat mute the strings, and it just gets a little different sound, especially if you have a high gain sound or some distortion. So here's without palm muting, with palm muting. A lot of times it's going to be used in and out, back and forth. And it can be done with single notes and chords. But that's all going to be saved for another video.